Hello, my name is Steve Bigelow with the Candlestick Forum. Finding the best trade setups becomes relatively easy when you're using candlestick analysis. So we know the market direction is continuing higher because we're still trading above the T-line. As you can see, not only were they trading above the T-line, but they're trading above the 3T line, still making the bulls in control. Now we're just watching to see whether they can break through this resistance level. And on the NASDAQ, you can see how it's doing kind of a rounding bottom, supporting at the T-line, kind of a J-hook pattern. Also gives the implication that if they break up through this level, wave 3 would now be in progress, which obviously means we're in a bullish market. The next scenario would be if they do indecisive trading failing here, we know that we want to be a little bit more cautious about closing out long positions. So there are about 15 what we call top rank signals and patterns. We know that the 12 major signals work very effectively for showing a change of investor sentiment. We know that there's about 6 or 8 candlestick patterns that were identified by the Japanese rice traders that produce high probability results. But through the years, my 45 plus years of using candlesticks, we've identified which signals and patterns are what we would consider top rank. That would be a combination of signals and patterns. For example, the best friend signal we rank as number 1. Not that number 1 is good and number 15 is bad. They're all good. We're just kind of quantifying. So when you have this information, this gets rid of those fear factors of, boy, the stock's up 20, 40, 60, 80%. I don't want to be chasing it. If we know what the signal and pattern is, we know what to expect with a high degree of probability coming out of that pattern. So as you can see in Weight Watchers, when they announced a good earnings, this is the expectation. When JP Morgan came out with strong earnings, doing a best friend signal, we could be buying this. And the reason we can be buying this, or not, let's put it this way. The reason we know there's a high probability of this moving in this direction allows us to put all sorts of optimal trading strategies, whether you're buying calls, whether you're buying calls with a combination of spreads, at least you know you're getting into something that has a much higher probability of moving in the right direction during a market move. So anytime we see this move, like we saw in XPEV today, a best friend signal, that if it breaks out through this level, where do you think the next logical target's going to be? Where everybody else is watching. Another one where you could either be buying the stock, buying calls, or buying a combination of calls and bullish spreads. Anytime we see a pattern setup like a bobble breakout, can also considered one of your top ranked signals and patterns. Notice when it fails at the 50 and pulls back, here's where the T-line becomes a much more effective indicator to tell you they aren't going to close it or sell it below the T-line. And when it comes back up through the 50, we call this a bobble breakout, a more defined J-hook, because if you took the 50 out of here, you have a J-hook pattern. But the fact that you do have the 50 here makes it that much more accentuated, because what do you think everybody else is watching? They're waiting to see what happens at the 50. So when you were buying immediately right here, knowing it's broken out, we can expect more upside, because what is the most investors' trading strategy? They can be buying if it's above the 50. So a bobble breakout allows us to anticipate where the next likely target was going to be. As we can see on PBR failed, pulled back, did a J-hook above the T-line, gapped up. Where do you think the next likely target was? Right here at the 200-day moving average. This is not rocket science. This is just identifying the patterns that have an extremely, not only a high degree of probability of moving in the right direction, but also producing a very strong price move in that direction. So anytime we see that setup, this is what we call a J-hook plus. Came up, pulled back. We put the plus on there because look where the bullish harami occurred, right smack dab off the 50. What's our next target? Watching to see what's here. If it goes through here, where's our next target? Wave 1, wave 3. Now, these work with a high degree of probabilities. That's why we're recognizing them as high profit trade setups. But what is the most crucial criteria for a price move? You stay long until you see a sell signal. So even though we might anticipate it's moving up to this magnitude, we still want to watch what the T-line and the signals are doing on the way up. So anytime we see a trade breakout, notice your left-right combo right here at the support level. Then followed by a gap up, trend kicker signal, followed by a doji sandwich that broke out through the level that everybody else was watching. Now we can at least anticipate they're heading for the next target. So everything built into a candlestick chart is exactly what the Japanese rice traders have illustrated to us for hundreds of years of what normally happens in human nature. So we've got situations like in Moderna, look where the bearish harami occurred, right smack dab at the 200, and then traded back lower. Let's observe the obvious. The obvious was they were not going through the 200. They're still in a downtrend. This provides a much greater opportunity to start shorting this stock. So when we can recognize what we call the top rank signals and patterns, that puts you not only in situations where the probabilities are pretty strong that you're going to be moving in the right direction, but the magnitude of the move is going to be much stronger. So just simple logic says if we can analyze we're in a market uptrend, what do we want to find? The strongest price moves during that uptrend. So join us Saturday, this coming Saturday, for a full day training. Now, non-members, it's much more expensive. This is our tricky marketing technique. You're much better off becoming a member, even if it's for 30 days. You'll save a lot of money, plus you'll get an extra 30 days to see whether all this information works. So with that, join us. We have much higher degrees of success for finding the best trade setups. That'll be it. We'll see you in the chat rooms.